I know you have consistently criticized the president's handling of security, but now with the release of these boys, would you commend the government, at least in this light?
Well, one thing I don't do in life is to pretend. I cannot even pretend any form of commendation for this government. It is an abysmal failure. How can such number of children be left in an insecurity-prone state in this country without any form of signaling that could show that that massive thing was going to happen to them? How was it that governmental systems did not even alert anyone that children had been carted off from their school at that level? We asked the same questions when Chibok girls were taken. So, for us to congratulate a government that created a problem and then said it solved it, we shouldn't be doing that. Look, this society should learn how to hold people to public accountability. The president should be disgusted with what happened, not commending himself. What's the clapping for? What is it for? Those children were put in harm's way, and now you say you've rescued them? Oh, maybe the president sent the young men on an excursion to terrorists, and now he probably has a lifeline to terrorists, so they can release children at will to him. He needs to tell us exactly what happened with the Kankara case. There is a problem here. This country should not be taken for a ride by President Buhari and his government. This is very unbecoming. And the whole world is laughing at us. They think that we're jokers. Did you see, many countries didn't even bother to show that anything had happened in our country because they felt like, who are these people? What are they doing to themselves? So let nobody ask anybody to clap. The only thing we should do is thank God for those children and their parents. They shouldn't, do this to little children. They shouldn't.
Now, just to get clarity on a comment you made earlier, when you said that this problem was created by the government, this government, in what context were you speaking?
Look, Katsina State is a state where we know that a lot of criminality and terrorist actions have been going on. How can you have, they said that there is a military outpost some 60 kilometers away from that school. How can this kind of a thing happen to those children in a state that's vulnerable to terrorist incursion? And there is nothing. Those kids were just there on their own, lying down there waiting to be carried. And how do you carry them? And for the length of time that you supposedly said they were taken, and nothing happened until you now reported they were taken. And by the way, remember that the same presidency said to us, oh no, only 10 children are missing. What are we supposed to believe? There's something wrong. Something is really wrong. And if people don't want to say it, oh, trust me, I will say it. Because it really has never mattered to me who is in office. The issue of governance is important. And we must be, totally clear in our minds that when it is not being done well, our voices must speak up. What is wrong with us as citizens? Why do we find comfort in pretending that a lie is true and that truth is lie? I'm not going to be part of it. I'm sorry.
Well,
the government has to explain to us what happened on the Kankara matter. They must tell us what happened. They haven't told us. There is too much murkiness around this. There's a lot of monkey business that they need to explain to us. Is this government trying to shore up its credibility by pretending that an abduction happened and then they got the children back? This would be too, heinous a thing to do to young children.
Well, Dr. Ezekwesili,
you... more transparent. This government must be transparent. I hold them to transparency. Right now, the president is the most selfish Nigerian that I know of. This country does not matter to the president. It is President Buhari that matters to President Buhari. And that should not be so. We should call it out. We should really call him out for this.
Well, Dr. Ezekwesili, I'd like to just put it out there that some of the statements you make are made entirely by you. I would like to be careful making factual statements. But Here's what we'll do.
Afraid.
We'll
The
go
media
on a
should
break.
learn to stop being afraid.
Well,
Stop
Dr.
being afraid of
Ezekwesili,
this
you have
government.
to put out
The media,
you have to put
listen
out
to me. You
facts
listen to
out
me.
there.
You got me on
Well,
this
we're
program.
due for a
You
break,
got me on
Dr.
this program.
Ezekwesili.
Listen
We're
to
due
me.
for a break.
Can
We
you
need to go on a
listen to
break.
me?
We would listen
No,
to
no,
you,
you
but
need
we're
to
out
listen
of
to
our
me.
time. Doctor, I'm sure you appreciate that we're bound by time. Now, we have seen what played out with the Kankara boys. You have clamored for the rescue of the Chibok girls, of Leah Sharibu. And yet again, in that tweet, the series of tweets you put out, you made a case for them. So with the government's handling of this abduction, what are your hopes for the over 100 Chibok schoolgirls yet to be rescued, as well as Leah Sharibu?
Now, before I go on to answer your question, I need to make a very important point on that caveat that you put to my speeches on your program. There is nowhere in the world where the television house does that to a guest. So please stop that. You should never do that. If you invited me as a guest, I'm speaking according to the questions you're asking me. Don't give that kind of a caveat. It is totally not correct. I have spoken on the basis of the facts that are out there. This is my speech. I am quite appalled that the Nigerian media would be so cowed by this administration that you now begin to do this to your guests on your station. That should never happen again. Now, to the question that you asked about Chibok girls and Leah Sharibu. Is it not a tragedy that a government that promised that it would recover Chibok girls within the 6 months of its becoming a government in this country has, up until today, not recovered 112 of those girls? But even more tragic is that this government has refused to give any form of update on the status of those girls to their parents. Ask this administration when anyone was last in touch with the Chibok girls and their community. The community of Chibok continue to cry that no closure has happened on their children. We have heard from people who work in the security sector of the country that most of the girls are dead. Has the country decided that that is the truth? And in other words, has the government of President Buhari decided that that is the truth? Why is it not speaking to the parents of the girls? Why is it not mounting a continuing operation to rescue the girls? Why has it abandoned the necessary status report on the situation of those girls to the public? On Leah Sharibu, the president should have an even greater need to rescue Leah Sharibu. Leah Sharibu was held back when 105 of her classmates were rescued, were released to the president. When they were released to the president, those children said that Leah Sharibu was kept back because she refused to renounce her faith. Now, if the president were truly a president to foster inclusion in this society, that would have made him even more determined to ensure that a Christian child is not left with terrorists simply because she refused to convert. I have been told by good, serious Muslims that nothing in their Quran says you force a person to convert to Islam. What is the president doing? Not speaking to the Charibus about their daughter. What is he doing? Being comfortable almost 7 years into his administration after gaining the second term. This president has nothing to say about these young women, 113 of them, including some aid workers that also were abducted at various times. Now, this same government does not do anything sensible, does not even give us any, does not think that they owe the public accountability on Chibok girls and Leah Sharibu. And then suddenly, these young men are taken in Kankara. The president just happens to be visiting Daura at the same time. And then in a matter of days, we thank God that these young men are brought back. And they still haven't told us, how did these young men come back? What did you do? What transaction led to their being released. And in that, I saw something where the vice principal was said to have said that nobody is missing. My goodness, that's massive success. We need exactly the same success for Chibok girls, Leah Charibu. If the president fails to do that, just let us know that he chooses not to do it. There is a capacity to do it that we now see in what has happened in Kankara. Now, what we want to see is a willingness to do it. What is good for Kankara boys is good for Leah Charibu and is good for the remaining 112 Chibok girls. That's what all Nigerians must say to our president.